Okay, now there's sound. That was very bizarre. I don't know why there was no sound there. Um, let's see if my mic works. Alright, now it seems to be working. Now that I refreshed my screen, though, I can't see all who's here, but I think I saw Rukumini there, and Madhavi Didi. Madhavi Didi's right there now, and Indira Mataji, and yeah, everybody else who's normally views. So, sorry about that. So, oh my God, it's about to rain. Anyhow, all right. So the prachetas, the 10 prachetas, they went to perform austerities and worship the Supreme Lord. And on their way, they met Lord Shiva, who was pleased with them and gave them instructions. With complete control, the prachetas meditated on, chanted, and worshipped these instructions. So then Vidura asks, what did Lord Shiva, being pleased, speak when the prachetas met him? And how did they get his rare darshan? Then Maitreya says, the prachetas, accepting their father's instructions on their heads, traveled westward to perform austerities. So then they go to the lake. There's a beautiful description of the lake that they went to. And at that time, they saw Lord Shiva with a golden complexion, bluish throat, and 3 eyes, along with his associates, emerge from the lake. They all offered their obeisances. Shiva was pleased with the prachetas because of their knowledge of Dharma and their good conduct. Thus he spoke to them. Good fortune unto you. I know your plans and have come here to give you mercy. Anyone who is completely surrendered to Vasudeva, the controller of everything, is actually dear to me. Therefore, devotees like you are as dear to me as the Lord himself, and the devotees also consider me as dear to them as the Lord himself. Let me give you pure, auspicious, and transcendental mantra, the chanting of which bestows the highest benefit. With a merciful heart, Shiva spoke to the prachetas who stood with folded hands. And so then we read this already. Obeisances to the Lord in the form of the Chaturvyuha and the presiding deities of the elements for self-purification. Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha were the deities of consciousness, false ego, intelligence, and the mind. And then it explains their function, and then the purpose of the prayer. Make my chitta peaceful and unchanging. Bind my possessiveness to the Lord and my ego to my true identity as his devotee. Wake up my intelligence so that it will situate me in bhakti. Attract my mind to the Lord's lotus feet through bhakti alone, and keep it in a perfect state of cleanliness. So these are the prayers that he made to the Chaturvyuha. And then he prays to Surya, Agni, Soma, Hiranyagarbha, Virat Rup, Vayu, Nabha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and Lord Shiva. And then sing and serving the Lord's glorious form. I wish to see you exactly in the form that your dear devotees worship. Only that form liked by the devotees can perfectly satisfy all the demands of the senses. The Lord glistens, dark like a rain cloud. He's the sum total of all beauty. With 4 long arms and noble, attractive face. The Lord has eyes like lotus petals, graceful brows and raised nose, fine teeth and forehead, and well-proportioned decorated ears. The Lord's joyful glance indicates his affection. His beauty is enhanced by his curling hair. His cloth glows like lotus pollen. He wears glittering earrings, a crown, bracelets, a necklace, anklets, and a belt. His beauty is increased by his conch, chakra, club, lotus, garland, and jewels. The Lord's lion-like shoulders glitter with reflections from his jewels. The Kaustuba jewel beautifies his neck. His chest, glowing with the mark of imperishable Lakshmi, surpasses a gold testing stone. The lines on his abdomen, like a banyan leaf, beautifully move with his inhaling and exhaling. The universe sprouted from his deep twirled navel and wishes to go back. He has especially attractive black hips, covered with cloth and enclosed by a belt. He is elegant, with symmetrical feet, calves, thighs, and knees. Link. Lord Shiva has thus described the bodily features of the Lord authoritatively. Now he wants to see the lotus feet of the Lord. Wait, what are we reading today again? 60 to 68, okay. Your two lotus feet are as beautiful as autumn lotus petals, and dissipate the darkness in the heart by the effulgence of their toenails. Kindly show me that form of yours which dissipates darkness in the heart of a devotee. O Guru, you are the teacher of bhakti for us, who is covered in ignorance. Sorry, let me reread that. O Guru, you are the teacher of bhakti for us who are covered in ignorance. One who desires purification should meditate on this form. Devotion to this form gives freedom from fear of death, even to those practicing varnashram duties. You are easily attained by your devotees, but rarely attained by any living being. Even Indra and Brahma desire you. You are the ultimate destination of the Kumaras. Oh man, it's raining kind of heavily right now. Let me just get because the power might go out, and that means that the Wi-Fi will go out. So I'm just going to get my hotspot working, just so that I'm ready in case the... Let's see. So I'm just turning on my hotspot. There. All right. Hopefully, when the power goes out, I won't be gone for very long. Okay. Worshipping you is difficult, even for liberated souls. Is my sound still working? Yes, it is. Okay, good. Haribol. Yeah. Dandavat pranams, Rukumini Didi. Oh, and Baba Tarini Mataji is there. Haribol, Dandavat pranams. And Pujanabu, Haribol. Okay, so rarity of bhakti. Worshipping you is difficult, even for liberated souls. It is possible only by pure devotional service, which is very rare. Therefore, who would desire Svarga, which is devoid of your lotus feet? Invincible time personified cannot approach a soul surrendered unto your lotus feet. But that time vanquishes the entire universe simply by the expansion, the quivering of his eyebrows. Even a half a moment's association with such a devotee cannot be compared to Svarga or liberation, the results of karma and jnana. One who prays in this way will achieve devotee association. Association with devotees is your real mercy. Therefore, please give me the association of your devotees, who are completely purified by the famous Ganga arising from your lotus feet, who are compassionate, have proper conduct, and pure hearts. Such association is your real mercy. A devotee's heart, which is purified by bhakti, is never agitated by objects of the external energy, or half asleep during worship, which is like a dark well. Having been blessed by Bhakti Devi, he understands very easily the Lord's name, fame, form, and activities. However, some sages see your form as Brahman, but that is you, since it is your effulgence spreading... Sorry, I just got distracted. However, some sages see your form as Brahman, but that is you, since it is your effulgence spreading glory everywhere. I told this devotee not to use my Wi-Fi for going live in the morning time when I'm doing this class, because it messes up the internet sometimes. Anyhow, he's doing it right now though. Okay, anyways. If the internet starts cutting out and not working good, just let me know. Hey, my screen wasn't sharing that whole time? Oh God, you were just looking at my face this whole time. Sorry about that. Okay. Yatredam vyajate vishvam vishvasmin abhabhati yat tattvam brahma param jyotir akasham iva vistritam. My dear Lord, the impersonal Brahman spreads everywhere, like the sunshine or the sky. And that impersonal Brahman, which spreads throughout the universe, and in which the entire universe is manifested, is you. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In Vedic literature, it is said that everything is Brahman and nothing else. The whole cosmic manifestation rests on the Brahman effulgence. The impersonalists, however, cannot understand how such a huge cosmic manifestation can rest on a person. Thus, this inconceivable power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not understood by the impersonalists. Therefore, they are puzzled and always denying that the absolute truth is a person. This wrong impression is cleared by Lord Shiva himself, who says that the impersonal Brahman, which is spread all over the universe, is nothing but the Supreme Lord himself. Here it is clearly said that the Lord is spread everywhere, just like the sunshine, by virtue of his Brahman feature. This example is very easy to understand. All the planetary systems are resting upon the sunshine, yet the sunshine and the source of sunshine are aloof from the planetary manifestations. Similarly, the sky or air is spread everywhere. Air is within a pot, but it also touches filthy places and sanctified places alike. In any case, the sky is uncontaminated. The sunshine also touches filthy places and sanctified places, and both are actually produced by the sun. But in any case, the sun is aloof from all filthy things. Similarly, the Lord exists everywhere. There are pious things and impious things, but in the Shastras, the pious things are described as the front of the Supreme Lord, whereas impious things are described as the back of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad-gīta 9.4, the Lord clearly says, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina matstani sarvabhutani na chaham teshravastita. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. This verse of Bhagavad-gīta explains that the Lord is spread everywhere by virtue of his Brahman feature. Everything rests in him, yet he is not there. The conclusion is that without bhakti yoga, without rendering devotional service to the Lord, even an impersonalist cannot understand the Brahma Tattva, the Brahman feature. In the Vedanta Sutra, it is stated, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. This means that Brahman, Paramatma, or Parabrahma should be understood. In Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam also, the absolute truth is described as the one without a second. But he is realized in three features: impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate issue, and in this verse, Lord Shiva confirms that ultimately the absolute truth is a person. He clearly says, Tattvam Brahma Param Jyotir Akasham Iva Vistritam. Here is a common example. A successful businessman may have many factories and offices, and everything rests on his order. If someone says that the entire business rests on such and such a person, it does not mean that the person is bearing all the factories and offices on his head. Rather, it is understood that by his brain or his energetic expansion, the business is running without interruption. Similarly, it is the brain and energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that carry on the complete manifestation of the material and spiritual worlds. The philosophy of monism, explained here very clearly, adjusts itself to the fact that the supreme source of all energy is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. This is described very clearly. It is also stated how the impersonal feature of Krishna can be understood. Rausoham apsukonteya prabhasmi shashi surayo Pranava sarvavedeshu shabda ke purusham virshu. O son of Kunti, Arjuna, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. Bhagavad-Gīta 7:8. In this way, Krishna can be understood as the mystic power in everything. Is it still working okay? Yes. Haribo Raseshwari Mataji. Yo maya yedam pururupayasrajad viparti bhurya kshapayatya vikriya yadbheda buddhi sarivatmadustaya tvamatmatantram bhagavan pratimahi. My dear Lord, you have manifold energies, and these energies are manifested in manifold forms. With such energies, you have also created this cosmic manifestation, and although you maintain it as if it were permanent, you ultimately annihilate it. Although you are never disturbed by such changes and alterations, the living entities are disturbed by them, and therefore they find the cosmic manifestation to be different or separated from you. My Lord, you are always independent, and I can clearly see this fact. Purport. It is clearly explained that Lord Krishna has multi-energies, which can be grouped into three, namely the external energy, the Bahiranga Shakti, the internal energy, Antaranga Shakti, and the marginal energy. Or when you say that, anyways, the Tatashta Shakti? Yeah. Yes, Tatashta Shakti. There are also different cosmic manifestations, namely the spiritual world and the material world, as well as different types of living entities. Some living entities are conditioned, and others are eternally free. The eternally free living entities are called Nitya Mukta, for they never come in contact with the material energy. However, some living entities are conditioned in this material world, and thus they think themselves separated from the Supreme Lord. Due to their contact with the material energy, their existence is always troublesome. Being always in distress, the conditioned soul considers the material energy to be very much disturbing. This fact is explained by a Vaishnav Kavi, a poet. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Krishna bhuli se jiv anadir bahirmukh ataeva maya tare deya sansara dukh. When the living entity forgets the Supreme Lord and wants to enjoy himself independently, imitating the Supreme Lord, he is captured by the false notion that he is the enjoyer and is separated from the Supreme Lord. This material energy is therefore very much troublesome to the spiritual energy, the living entity. But the material energy is never troublesome to the Supreme Lord. Indeed, for the Supreme Lord, both material and spiritual energy are the same. In this verse, Lord Shiva explains that the material energy is never troublesome to the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is always independent, but because the living entities are not independent, due to their false idea of becoming independently happy, the material energy is troublesome. Consequently, the material energy creates differentiation. Because the Mayavadi philosophers Because the Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand this, they want to be relieved from the material energy. However, because a Vaishnava philosopher is in full knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he finds no disturbance in the material energy. 1 second, I just need... I'll finish it. Yeah, just 1 second, actually. I need to get something off my porch, which is getting soaked. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay, is my sound still working? Yes, it is. So, however, because the Vaishnava philosopher is in full knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he finds no disturbance even in the material energy. This is because he knows how to utilize the material energy for the service of the Lord. In the government, the criminal department and civil department may appear different in the eyes of the citizens, but in the eyes of the government, both departments are one and the same. The criminal department is troublesome for the criminal, but not for the obedient citizen. Similarly, this material energy is troublesome for the conditioned soul, but it has nothing to do with the liberated souls who are engaged in the service of the Lord. Through the Purusha avatar, Mahavishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead created the whole cosmic manifestation. Simply by breathing out all the universes, the Lord creates and maintains the cosmic manifestation as Lord Vishnu. Then, as Sankarshan, he annihilates the cosmic manifestation. Yet despite the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the cosmos, the Lord is not affected. The various activities of the Lord must be very disturbing to tiny living entities, but since the Lord is supremely great, he is never affected. Lord Shiva or any other pure devotee can see this clearly without being blinded by bhed buddhi, or differentiation. For a devotee, the Lord is the Supreme Spirit Soul. Since he is supremely powerful, his various powers are also spiritual. For a devotee, there is nothing material, for material existence only means forgetfulness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kriya kalapar idameva yogina shadanvita sadhu yajanti siddhaye utendriyanta karano palakshitam vede chatantre chata eva kovida. My dear Lord, your universal form consists of all 5 elements, the senses, mind, intelligence, false ego, which is material, and the Paramatma, your partial expansion, who is the director of everything. Paramatma, your partial expansion, is the director of everything. Yogis, other than the devotees, namely the Karma Yogi and Gyan Yogi, worship you by their respective actions and their respective positions. It is stated both in the Vedas and in the Shastras that are corollaries of the Vedas, that indeed everywhere, that it is only you who are to be worshipped. Let me reread this. It is stated both in the Vedas and in the Shastras that are corollaries of the Vedas, and indeed everywhere, it is stated that it is only you who are to be worshipped. That is the expert version of all the Vedas. Purport. In a previous verse, Lord Shiva wanted to see the form of the Lord, which the devotees are always interested in. There are other forms of the Lord manifest in the material world, including Brahma and other demigods, and these are worshipped by materialistic persons. In the 2nd canto, 3rd chapter of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it is stated that those who desire material benefits are recommended to worship different types of demigods, and in conclusion, the Bhagavatam recommends, Akamo sarvakamo va moksha kama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. The devotees, the Gyanis, who are known as moksha kama, and the karmis, who are known as sarvakama, are all aspiring to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Even when one performs yagyas, as stated here, Kriya Kalapai, he should always remember that the demigods are but agents of the Supreme Lord. Actually, the worshipful Lord is Vishnu, Yogeshwar. Thus, even when different demigods are worshipped in the Vedic and Tantric sacrifices, the actual goal of sacrifice is Lord Vishnu. Therefore, in Bhagavad-Gīta 9.23, it is said, Ye panya devata bhakta yajante shraddhayanvita tepi mam evakonteya yajanta vidhi purvakam. Whatever a man may sacrifice to other gods, O son of Kunti, is really meant for me alone, but it is offered without true understanding. Thus the worshippers of various demigods also worship the Supreme Lord, but they do so against the regulative principles. The purpose of the regulative principles is to satisfy Lord Vishnu, and the Vishnu Puran 389, the very same thing is confirmed. Varnashramacharata Purushena Purapuman Vishnur Aradate Panta Nanyat Tattoshakaranam. We read this verse twice yesterday when we were reading about Ramananda Rai. Here it is clearly mentioned that the karmi, jnani, or yogi, in fact everyone, worships Lord Vishnu if he is actually expert in knowledge of the Vedas and Tantras. The word Kovida is very significant, for it indicates the devotees of the Lord. Only the devotees know perfectly that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu is all-pervading. Within the material energy, he is represented by the 5 material elements as well as the mind, intelligence, and ego, the Supreme Lord is. He is also represented by another energy, the living entities, and all these manifestations in the spiritual and material worlds combined are but representations of the different energies of the Lord. The conclusion is that the Lord is one and that he is expanded in everything. This is also understood by the Vedic version, Sarva Kala Vidam Brahma. One who knows this concentrates all his energy in worshipping Lord Vishnu. My God, can you hear the rain? It's like really pounding. Tameka Adya Purusha Sukta Shatis Tayaraja Sattva Tamo Vidhidate Mahanaham Kam Marudagni Vardhara Sura Shayo Bhutta Gana Idamyata. My dear Lord, you are the only Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. Before the creation of this material world, your material energy remains in a dormant condition. When your material energy is agitated, the 3 qualities, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, act. And as a result, the total material energy, egotism, ether, air, fire, earth, water, and all the various demigods and saintly persons, becomes manifest. Thus the material world is created. Purport. If the whole creation is one, that is nothing but the Supreme Lord or Vishnu. Okay, let me check the internet's still going. Yes. If the whole creation is one, that is nothing but the Supreme Lord or Vishnu, then why do the expert transcendentalists make such categories as are found in the above verse? Is there something missing here? One second. Anyhow, why do learned and expert scholars distinguish between matter and spirit? Actually, let me just get my Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Just don't want to miss out. Indira Mataji told me that this version that I'm reading online is missing a bunch of parts. Oh no, it added even some parts actually that weren't even there. So I'm just double checking in this book. What verse are we on? 63. Alright. Okay, yes, it was missing something. Such categories are found in this verse. Tvam eka adya purusha. Okay. No, there's nothing missing. Sorry, guys. Why do learned and expert scholars distinguish between matter and spirit? Sorry, what were the questions? If the whole creation is one, that is nothing but the Supreme Lord or Vishnu, then why do the expert transcendentalists make such categories as are found in the above verse? Why do the learned and expert scholars distinguish between matter and spirit? In answer to these questions, Lord Shiva says that spirit and matter are not creations of various philosophers, but are manifested by Lord Vishnu as described in this verse, from Eka Adya Purusha. Spiritual and material categories are made possible by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but actually there are no such distinctions for the living entities who are eternally engaged in the service of the Lord. There is only a material world for those who want to imitate the Lord and become enjoyers. Indeed, the material world is nothing but forgetfulness of the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Creator of everything. The distinction between matter and spirit is created by the sleeping energy of the Lord, when the Lord wants to give some facility to those living entities who want to imitate the Lord and His enjoyment. It is only for them that this material world is created by the dormant energy of the Lord. For instance, sometimes children want to imitate their mother and cook in the kitchen, and at such a time the mother supplies them with some toys so that the children can imitate her cooking. Similarly, when some of the living entities want to imitate the activities of the Lord, this material cosmic manifestation is created for them by the Lord. The material creation is therefore caused by the Lord through His material energy. It is by the glance of the Lord that the material energy is activated. At that time, the three material qualities are set into motion, and the material energy is manifested first in the form of the Mahat Tattva, then egotism, then ether, then air, fire, water, and earth. After the creation, the living entities are impregnated in the cosmic manifestation, and they emerge as Lord Brahma and the 7 great rishis, then as different demigods. From the demigods come human beings, animals, trees, birds, beasts, and everything else. The original cause, however, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as verified herein. Tvam Eka Adya Purusha. This is also confirmed in Brahma Samhita, first verse. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Those who are covered by the material energy cannot understand that the origin of everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. This is summarized in the Vedanta aphorism Janma Dasyayata, first verse of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. No, that's not first verse of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Sorry. I have to ignore whenever it has in these square brackets, that means that it's not in a book. And lots of times this square brackets thing is wrong. That's the second sutra from the Vedanta Sutra. Krishna also confirms this in Bhagavad-gīta 10.8. Aham sarvasva prapavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. When Krishna says that he is the origin of everything, aham sarvasva prabhava, he means that he is even the source of Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the Purush avatars, the material manifestation, and all the living entities within the material world. Actually, the word prabhav, creation, only refers to this material world. For since the spiritual world is eternally existing, there is no question of creation. In the Chatushloki of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the Lord says, Aham evasam evagre. I was existing in the beginning before the creation. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 2.9.33. In the Vedas, it is also said, Eko Narayana Asit. Before the creation, there was only Narayan. This is also confirmed by Shankaracharya. Narayano paro vyaktat. Narayan is transcendental to the creation. Rudra-gīta Pashya. Since all the activities of Narayan are spiritual, when Narayan said, let there be creation, that creation was all spiritual. The material only exists for those who have forgotten that Narayan is the original cause. Srishtam sashaktedam anupravishtas chaturvidam puram atmang shakena ato vidustang purusham santamantar bhunkte hrishikeer madhusaragamya. My dear Lord, after creating by your own potencies, you enter within the creation in 4 kinds of forms. Being within the hearts of the living entities, you know them and know how they are enjoying their senses. The so-called happiness of this material creation is exactly like the bee's enjoyment of honey after it has been collected in the honeycomb. Purport. The material cosmic manifestation is an exhibition of the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But because dull matter cannot work independently, the Lord himself enters within this material creation in the form of a partial expansion, Paramatma, and he enters also by his separated parts and parcels, the living entities. In other words, both the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead enter into the material creation just to make it active, as stated in Bhagavad-Gīta 7.5. Aparayam itastanyam prakritim vidime param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharate jagat. Besides this inferior nature, Almighty Arjuna, there is a superior energy of mind, which consists of all living entities who are struggling within the material nature and are sustaining the universe. Since the material world cannot work independently, the living entities enter into the material manifestation in 4 different types of bodies. The word Chaturvidam is significant in this verse. There are 4 types of living entities born within this material world. Some are born by way of an embryo, Jarayuja, by way of eggs, Andaja, perspiration, Svedaja, and, like the trees, by way of seeds, Udbija. Regardless of how these living entities appear, they are all busy in the pursuit of sense enjoyment. The materialistic scientists' contention that the living entities other than human beings have no soul is nullified herein. Whether they are born through an embryo, eggs, perspiration, or seeds, all living entities in the 8,400,000 species of life are parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and each, therefore, is an individual spark and soul. The Supreme Personality of Godhead also remains within the heart of the living entity, regardless of whether the living entity is a man, animal, tree, germ, or microbe. The Lord resides in everyone's heart, and because all living entities who come to this material world do so in order to fulfill their desire for sense enjoyment, the Lord directs the living entities to enjoy their senses. Thus, the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, knows everyone's desires, as stated in Bhagavad-Gīta 15.15. Sarvasya chaham hridisan nivishto matasmritir jnanam apohanam cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Remaining within the hearts of all living entities, the Lord bestows remembrance by which the living entities can enjoy certain things. Thus, the living entities creates their enjoyable honeycombs and enjoy them. The example of the bees is appropriate because when the bees try to enjoy their honeycomb, they have to suffer the bites of other bees. Because bees bite one another when they enjoy honey, they are not exclusively enjoying the sweetness of the honey, for there is also suffering. In other words, the living entities are subjected to the pains and pleasures of material enjoyment, whereas the Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing their plans for sense enjoyment, is aloof from them. In the Upanishads, the example is given of 2 birds sitting on a tree. One bird, the jiva or living entity, is enjoying the fruits of that tree, and the other bird, Paramatma, is simply witnessing. In the Bhagavad-Gīta 13.23, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Paramatma, is described as Upadrashta, the overseer, and Anumanta, the permitter. Thus, the Lord simply witnesses and gives the living entity sanction for sense enjoyment. It is the Paramatma also who gives the intelligence by which the bees can construct a hive, collect honey from various flowers, store it, and enjoy it. Although the Paramatma is aloof from the living entities, he knows their intentions, and he gives them facilities by which they can enjoy or suffer the results of their actions. Human society is exactly like a beehive, for everyone is engaged in collecting honey from various flowers, or collecting money from various sources, and creating large empires for common enjoyment. However, after these empires are created, The bites of other nations have to be suffered. Sometimes nations declare war upon one another, and the human beehives become sources of misery. Although human beings are creating their beehives in order to enjoy the sweetness of their senses, they are at the same time suffering from the bites of other persons or nations. The Supreme Personality of Godhead as Paramatma is simply witnessing all these activities. The conclusion is that both the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Jivas enter into this material world. However, the Paramatma, or Supreme Personality of Godhead, is worshipable because he has arranged for the happiness of the living entity in the material world. Because it is the material world, however, no one can enjoy any kind of happiness without inebriety. I always forget this word, without being intoxicated, right? Yeah, drunkenness, especially habitual intoxication. Material enjoyment means inebriety, whereas spiritual enjoyment means pure enjoyment under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sa esha lokan atichandavego vikarshasi tvam kalukalayana bhutani bhutar anumeya tattva ganavalir eva vishahya. My dear Lord, your absolute authority cannot be directly experienced, but one can guess by seeing the activities of the world that everything is being destroyed in due course of time. The force of time is very strong, and everything is being destroyed by something else, just as one animal is being eaten by another animal. Time scatters everything, exactly as the wind scatters clouds in the sky. Purport. The process of destruction is going on according to the law of nature. Nothing within this material world can be permanent, although scientists, philosophers, workers, and everyone else are trying to make things permanent. One foolish scientist recently declared that eventually life will be made permanent through science. Some so-called scientists are also trying to manufacture living entities within the laboratory. Thus, in one way or another, everyone is busy denying the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and rejecting the supreme authority of the Lord. However, the Lord is so powerful that he destroys everything in the form of death. As Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gīta 10:34, Mrityu sarva haraschaham, I am all-devouring death. The Lord is just like death to the atheists, for he takes away everything they accumulate in the material world. Hiranyakashipu, the father of Prahlad, always denied the existence of the Lord, and he tried to kill his 5-year-old boy due to the boy's unflinching faith in God. However, in due course of time, the Lord appeared as Nrsimhadev and killed Hiranyakashipu in the presence of his son. As stated in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1.13.47, this killing process is natural. Jivo jivasya jivanam. One animal is food for another animal. A frog is eaten by a snake is eaten by a mongoose, and a mongoose is eaten by another animal. In this way, the process of destruction goes on by the supreme will of the Lord. Although we do not see the hands of the Supreme Lord directly, we can feel the presence of that hand through the Lord's process of destruction. We can see the clouds scattered by the winds, although we cannot see how this is being done, because it is not possible to see the wind. Similarly, although we do not directly see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we can see that he controls the process of destruction. The destructive process is going on fiercely under the control of the Lord, but the atheist cannot see it. Parmatmamuchar iti krita chintaya pravriddalobham vishayeshu lalasam tamapramata sahasa bipadyase kshule lihano hir ivakum antaka. Okay, we have 10 more minutes. My dear Lord, all living entities within this material world are mad after planning for things, and they are always busy with the desire to do this or that. This is due to uncontrollable greed. The greed for material enjoyment is always existing in the living entity, but your Lordship is always alert, and in due course of time you strike him, just as a snake seizes a mouse and very easily swallows him. Purport: everyone is greedy, and everyone makes plans for material enjoyment. In his lust for material enjoyment, the living entity is described as a madman. As stated in Bhagavad-Gīta 3.27, Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities, which are in actuality carried out by nature. Everything is enacted by the laws of nature, and these laws are under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The atheists or unintelligent men do not know this. They are busy making their own plans, and big nations are busy expanding their empires. And yet, we know that in due course of time, many empires have come into existence and have been destroyed. Yes, many empires have come into existence and been destroyed. Many aristocratic families were created by people in their extreme madness. But we can see that in the course of time, those families and empires have all been destroyed. But still, the foolish atheists do not accept the supreme authority of the Lord. Such foolish people unnecessarily concoct their own duties without referring to the supreme authority of the Lord. The so-called political leaders are busy making plans to advance the material prosperity of their nation, but factually, these political leaders only want an exalted position for themselves. Due to their greed for material position, they falsely present themselves as leaders before the people and collect their votes, although they are completely under the grip of the laws of material nature. These are some of the faults of modern civilization. Without taking to God consciousness and accepting the authority of the Lord, the living entities become ultimately confused and frustrated in their plan-making attempts. Due to their unauthorized plans for economic development, the price of commodities is rising daily all over the world, so much so that it has become difficult for the poorer classes, and they are suffering the consequences. And due to lack of Krishna consciousness, people are being fooled by the so-called leaders and plan makers. Consequently, the sufferings of the people are increasing. According to the laws of nature, which are backed by the Lord, nothing can be permanent within this material world. Therefore, everyone should be allowed to take shelter of the Absolute in order to be saved. In this regard, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gīta 5.29, Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantamrichati. The sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. If one wants peace of mind and tranquility in society, he must accept the fact that the real enjoyer is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is the proprietor of everything, all over the universe, and He is the supreme friend of all living entities as well. By understanding this, people can become happy and peaceful individually and collectively. Okay, I'm going to just read this purport and end here. Yeah, and we can read the two last verses tomorrow. Kastvat padabjam vijahati pandito yaste vamana vyayamana ketana vishankayasmad gururarchati smayad vinopapatim manavashaturdasha. My dear Lord, any learned person knows that unless he worships you, his entire life is spoiled. Knowing this, how could he give up worshipping your lotus feet? Even our father and spiritual master, Lord Brahma, unhesitatingly worshipped you, and the 14 Manus followed in his footsteps. Purport. The word Pandita means a wise man. Who is actually a wise man? The wise man is described in Bhagavad-Gīta 7.19 in this way. Bahunam janmanamante gyanavam mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvam iti sa mahatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Thus, when the wise man actually becomes wise after many births and whimsical attempts at self-realization, he surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Such a Mahatma, or learned person, knows that Krishna, Vasudeva, is everything. Vasudeva Saram Iti. Learned persons always think that life is wasted unless they worship Lord Krishna or become his devotee. Srila Rupa Goswami also says that when one becomes an advanced devotee, he understands that he should be reserved and perseverant, and that he should engage in the service of the Lord and not waste time. Kshanti and Avyartha Kalatvam. He should also be detached from all material attraction, virakti, and he should not long for any material respect in return for his activities, manashunyata. He should be certain that Krishna will bestow his mercy upon him, asha bandha, and he should always be very eager to serve the Lord faithfully, samutkanta. The wise man is always very eager to glorify the Lord by chanting and hearing, nama gane sada ruchi, and he is always eager to describe the transcendental qualities of the Lord, asaktis tar gunakyane. He should also be attracted to those places where the Lord had his pastimes, pratis tar vasati stale. These are the symptoms of an advanced devotee. That's actually, more specifically, the symptoms of somebody who's reached the stage of bhav. We're going to learn that in our definition shloka group. That shloka. An advanced devotee, or perfect human being who is actually wise and learned, cannot give up his service at the lotus feet to the Lord. Although Lord Brahma has a long lifespan, 4,320,000,000 years, constitute 12 hours in a day of Brahma, Brahma is afraid of death and consequently engages in the devotional service of the Lord. Even Brahma is afraid of death. Similarly, all the Manus who appear and disappear during the day of Brahma are also engaged in the Lord's devotional service. In Brahma's one day, 14 Manus appear and disappear. The first Manu is Swayambhuva Manu. Each Manu lives for 71 yugas, each consisting of some 4,320,000 years. Although the Manus have such a long lifespan, they still prepare for the next life by engaging in the devotional service of the Lord. In this age, human beings only live for 60 or 80 years, and even this small lifespan is gradually decreasing. Therefore, it is even more imperative for human beings to take to the worship of the lotus feet of the Lord by constantly chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, as recommended by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Tanarapi sunichena, tarorapi sahishnana, amanina manidena, kirtaniya sada hari. When one is engaged in devotional service, he is often surrounded by envious people, and often many enemies come to try and defeat him or stop him. This is not new in this present age, for even in the days of yore, Prahlad Maharaj, who was engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, was harassed by his demoniac father, Hiranyakashipu. The atheists are always prepared to harass a devotee. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suggested that one be very tolerant of these people. Nonetheless, one has to continue chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and preaching the chanting of this mantra, because such preaching and chanting constitute the perfection of life. One should chant and preach about the urgency of making this life perfect in all respects. One should thus engage in the devotional service of the Lord and follow in the footsteps of previous acharyas, beginning with Lord Brahma and others. So we'll end here for today. But these are the two, I'll just read the translations of the two last verses of Rudra-gīta right now. My dear Lord, all actually learned persons know you as the Supreme Brahman and the Supersoul. Although the entire universe is afraid of Lord Rudra, who ultimately annihilates everything, for the learned devotees, you are the fearless destination of all. My dear sons of the king, just execute your occupational duty as kings with a pure heart. Just chant this prayer, fixing your mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. That will bring you all good fortune, for the Lord will be very much pleased with you. All right. Those purports are very small, but anyways, I'm just going to end here because we're already 4 minutes over time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. We only have a few more pages left in this. This is, so we'll probably, just a few pages. So we will probably start part 4, the last part of the 4th canto tomorrow also. I'll figure it out. I'm going to look at the schedule on it. All right. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nitila Vishnu Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Shala Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shala Gurudev Ki Jai Nitila Vishnu Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Shala Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj. Sorry, I already said it. Shala Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai Nitila Vishnu Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Shala Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shala Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitila Vishnu Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai Nitila Vishnu Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitila Vishnu Mahabhagavat Srila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nitila Vishnu Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Nitila Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadasha Raghunath Shar Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Ki Jai Shri Mona Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Rudra-gīta Ki Jai Shri Shiva Mahadev Ki Jai Shri the Prachetas Ki Jai Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyai Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat Pranams. Haribol. Thanks, Indira Mataji. Dandavat Pranams, Rukumini Didi, and Prajumna Prabhu. Can we do a class on the miracles of deities? Maybe. sometime. I don't know. I'm not thinking about that right now. I have too much on my plate at the moment. Alright. Dandavat pranam. Haribol.